Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking and joining me on this journey. And today we're going to be talking about the type of content that we consume. And let's just get right into it because we have a lot to unpack here. This kind of came to me on my journey of kind of becoming a better person and all of that. And it came to me because I realized that the type of content that I watched and consumed, the type of music that I listened to, and all of those things really had an impact on the way that I perceived the world and the way that I interacted with it. And I think that that's really important because we are what we consume. And I feel like we always talk about that, but we don't directly see the correlation all the time. And so it's not as apparent. And so I think that kind of breaking it down and really becoming cognitive of this fact can be really helpful in our journey to become better people. So it's important to be mindful of what kind of media, what kind of friends, and what kind of thoughts you let into your mind. And the first thing that I thought about when I wrote this down was like, you can't really control what you think. Like, you're driving down the highway and you're like, what if I just. And like, even though I can't control that my brain came to that conclusion, what I can control is how I react to it. And that's like huge when it comes to like anything. Like, I can't control how I feel, but I can control how I respond to those feelings or how I react to those feelings. So, a lot of times we say and do things that go unchecked. And so, like, just like I would be like, oh, it's crazy that I thought I should just drive my car off a cliff. I think that we should be more aware of the thoughts that come into our mind and really reflect on if those things are okay, because we use language that isn't uplifting, isn't encouraging in relation to ourselves and to others all the time. And because it is socially acceptable, it really does go unchecked. But I encourage the individual person to be like, hey, is this how I want to be interacting with the world? Is this how I want to perceive things and connect with others? Is this beneficial to me or is it harmful? And those simple questions create a framework of our expectations on how we basically move throughout society. And I think that that is very important. I think often we learn things from our parents or from friends, and we don't bother to be the gate to our own minds and to our own way of perceiving things. And so I think that we should be more aware of who we are and how we interact with the world, because those things are important. I think you have a responsibility to yourself to really question and wrestle with things, because that's what we were made to do. We're going to start off with part one. Why is this important? And depending on the person you are, your mind can be easily influenced or it can be a lot harder to influence you. I'm very easily influenced. I see something, I'm like, ooh, like any kind of advertisement, any kind of product placement, any kind, like someone will be eating something and I'm like, you're eating spaghetti, I could go for spaghetti, you know? And so I think being awareness is always the first step. So being aware of what type of person you are, if you find yourself to like just simply going throughout your day, do you feel as though the things around you are influencing you internally? Like if you see someone eating something, do you crave that thing? Or if you see a product, are you immediately convinced or does it take you time to like be convinced? Um and kind of figuring out, I think it's kind of more like a scale where you lie on that scale, because I think that really determines what type of content you are honestly like able to consume. And I think as a rule of thumb, we should be the guardians of our own minds. And so like based on values, not on susceptibility, we should determine like what we watch or what we listen to and all of those things. But I do think it does make a difference. I know for me, I am very easily influenced, and therefore I take precautions in my own life to kind of filter or be a little bit more strict on what type of things I consume at what time of day. So, like, if I start off my day with something that is not uplifting or is kind of like I need to like sit down and watch it like a show or something, my whole day has pivoted to something that's not productive or inspiring and more consumeristic. But if I start my day, even I noticed like get ready with me vlogs or um someone decluttering or cleaning, it instantly triggers that part of my brain to be like, I want to do that too. I want to declutter. I want to get my life together. I want to do like those things are very highly influencing for me. But that might not be the case for everybody. It might not really be to that extent for everybody. And so just kind of figuring out where you are on the spectrum is important. And why it's important to understand that is so that you can keep a guardrail for yourself that's custom to you, because you should be the expert in yourself. And so I think that as a rule of thumb, moralistically, all of us should be careful on what we consume, be careful on what we listen to or interact with. But I think that we should seek to understand ourselves first, and that can help dictate how we interact with the world. So I hope that covered that section pretty well. I kind of wanted to expand on it more, but I think there's something beautiful about letting something sit. So moving on to part two, what type? So I wrote down a section because I think that we should be able to categorize our lives a little more than we do. I think it's easy to like mindlessly click on content, mindlessly scroll, mindlessly interact with people, and not really break down our behaviors and patterns. But when I was writing this down, I was like, I think that it's so helpful. And I've kind of started doing this in my own life to break things down into categories. And I started with like videos of like things that I watch. So, do I watch something for informational value? Do I watch it for entertainment? Or do I watch it for motivation? And those are like the main ways that I consume media. Like, I will be scrolling on YouTube. I love YouTube. That's why I'm making videos. YouTube feels like my home. And I'll be scrolling on YouTube and I will click on a video that is like something that has to do with Jupiter. I watched a really good video about Jupiter. It was super interesting. And that is like informational value. I feel like that doesn't push me one way or another. It's not it's not necessarily addictive. It's just, whoa, that was really cool. Once I'm done with the video, I don't feel like I need to sit down and watch 5 more, but I was happy that I watched it. And then there's entertainment. And entertainment is very addictive. We love to be entertained. I love to be entertained. And those are kind of like the more addictive content that I could watch one video after the other and like just mindlessly like be in it. And then my third was motivation. And that's when I click on a video that's like a decluttering video, morning routine video, just somebody who seems to have their life together makes me want to have my life together. And that is a category in itself for me. And so I encourage you to do the same, kind of break down how you, and it doesn't have to be categories like mine. Like your categories can be different even if it's like the same thing. Like you might think that informational content is purely entertainment for you. But I kind of encourage you to break down your entertainment. And once you've broken it down, ask yourself before you start watching, before you start scrolling, what do I want to gain from this? Like, do I want to be entertained? Do I want to learn something? Do I want motivation? And kind of allow yourself to, like I always say, it's okay to indulge, allow yourself to indulge, but understand where you're going. Like, are you going for comfort? You want to be entertained because you want to be comforted? And I think it's so important. We have these impulses in life, and it's so important to question why, to question what needs are not fulfilled. Why do I feel the need to like sit down and watch something or listen to something, and really question yourself. The second category is about friendships. And I think that it's important to reevaluate all your friendships just during the course of your life. I'm not saying wake up every day and be like, do I still want to be friends with Sally? No. I'm just saying that it's important to kind of reevaluate who you have in your life, how they make you feel, what your connection is to them. This isn't about judgment, it's about connection. So, like, it's not about is this person a good person or what's going on with them or like it's about how does this connection make me feel? How is it when we're together? Is there something that needs to be improved upon? Is there something that I've been letting get away or slide through the cracks that I'm not comfortable with? And people are people. They're not perfect. We're not perfect. We sit here and we struggle with ourselves every day. I sit here and I struggle with myself every day. And so there is an extension of grace and mercy that I believe every person should have. But I also think there are boundaries that need to be made. And in the process of improving your life, it is important to have those boundaries and keep those boundaries because I know what it looks like to not have boundaries. I know what it looks like to use grace and mercy and understanding way too much in your life. But there always has to be a point where you protect yourself. And in protecting yourself, you're protecting others. Because when you let people walk over you, you're not helping yourself and you're not helping them either. So I think that reevaluating your friendships periodically throughout your life, being like, just taking a second and being like, who do I have in my life? And what are my connections with them? Who are my close friends? Who are people I feel like I can trust? Because when you're at your lowest of lows, you might think to yourself, I can't trust anybody. I can't talk to anybody. I don't know. But when you're just chilling, you're at your medium, you're just cruising through your life, you're watching this video, and you're like, hey, let me think about my connections. Because trust is a choice. Trust is I'm going to make the choice to trust you with my feelings based on what I know about you. And that is all that's it has to happen at some point. Like it will happen at some point. And it might be I've never gone to this person about my struggles until today. That's how it starts. It's one day you decide to trust somebody. So then the last category is what you think and what you say. This one's hard. This one's hard because it's habit. It's I talk out of habit. I was going around in my life and I asked people like, "Hey, do you think before you speak?" Because I know like that's something my mom always used to tell me. She was like, think before you speak. And I realized that in myself, I do not tend to think before I speak. I am a stream of consciousness individual. What is on my mind comes out of my mouth. And I do know how to rein that in certain times, in certain spaces. But when it comes to people that I'm comfortable with, I think that we need to be mindful about what we're saying, about what we're sharing, about what we're thinking, because our subconscious is just picking up on the habits, man. Like once it gets there, it's like, oh, I've just said that without thinking because your subconscious is so used to you saying that. Why would you object? Like, you know? And so I think it's important to cultivate an environment in our minds, in our space that is uplifting and motivating and kind. And those characteristics come with time and being patient with yourself, but there needs to be a starting point because if we don't stop and become aware and then check ourselves whenever it comes to your mind. I have been breathing wrong my whole life, and apparently you're supposed to breathe into your diaphragm, which is more in like your stomach. I'm a shallow breather. I breathe into my chest constantly. And so, have I mastered the art of breathing into my diaphragm? No. Am I doing it right now? No. Do I do it regularly? No. But I am aware that that is how I need to be breathing. And throughout my day, sometimes I'll check myself and be like, you need to be breathing into your, like, you need to be breathing into your diaphragm. And I will correct my behavior. It might take me years to correctly breathe. But at one point or another, I will get there. And so I think that's the same thing for your thoughts. That's the same thing for your actions. It's not going to happen overnight. You've been doing it for years. Like, why would you undo years of habit in like 2 seconds? But I think that it is very important for us to challenge ourselves, for us to become aware, and for us to do what we can to change. And so, yeah, that's the end of that section. I've been yapping for a bit. So now we're going to end off with part 3, which is reflection. And it's kind of just taking everything that we've been talking about and putting it into one phrase, which is go through your life and challenge everything that you consider to be passive and conscious. Don't live your life passively. Don't live your life where you're just kind of like on autopilot, like all of those things that you did 5 years ago, you're still doing. Challenge yourself, challenge your ideas, challenge everything, because I believe that that is what leads to sustaining growth. That is what leads to an upward trajectory. And the last thing that I want to end this part off with is change and growth is good even if others judge you. And when you're entering a time where you're changing, people who are living passively, people who are not challenging themselves, are going to look at you and be like, you're not the same. People who are comfortable with who you are, even if they're challenging themselves, but they know that you typically don't, they'll be like, ooh, I don't like this new you, or I don't know what's going on. You're changing, you're not the same. That is part of growing up. If you're the same person that you were 3 years ago, we need to reassess. Um, and so don't let others' perception of you influence how you decide to navigate the world, because at the end of the day, you live with you. You are you. And you shouldn't let others dictate who you are and who you decide to become. Um, Healthy, uplifting relationships are good in the sense of I am watching your habits and I'm concerned and I'm asking for change. But at the end of the day, even if someone who loves you and cares about you and you have a healthy relationship wants you to change or become a better person, all of that is you. It's not them. You're the one that has to sit with yourself every single day. You're the one that has to actually do the work. And so be confident in what you decide to do. Be confident in your choices. Be confident in the way that you navigate the world, because you're navigating it with you. Okay, so that is the bulk of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that I did it justice. I'm trying to remind myself that it doesn't have to be perfect. I wish that I could have dived into this topic deeper, but I've already been sitting here for a bit. And so I wanted to end this with one last section, and I'm going to do my little closing remarks. So please like and subscribe and comment, and I am so happy that you decided to join me, and I feel good. Thank you for 50 subscribers. That's crazy to me. I'm very excited and happy about it. And yes, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And the last section that I want to add to this video is called Come As You Are. And I felt inclined to add this section because in my journey with my personal growth, it has a huge factor is God. And so I know that Christianity and God and spirituality can be a little bit, I don't know where people are in their journeys. And so I don't want to push my faith onto you, but I do think that as it is a huge part of my growth, I kind of want to have a little segment where I talk about it. And so that's why I'm calling it Come As You Are, because you don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to, there is no qualification to listen to this part. But if you're uncomfortable or you don't want to stay and listen, that is completely fine. And I'm so happy that you came and listened to me talk anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna get into it. And I'm just gonna kind of say what's on my mind. Watch your eyes and watch your ears is something that kind of came to me because of the values that I was raised with. And I truly believe that throughout the Bible, there is a message that talks about the types of things that we put into our bodies, the types of things that we listen to, and how it is so influential. And I think something else that is very relevant is also what we say. And I think that our words have power. I think that when God created us, he created us in his image. And therefore, if he spoke things into existence and we were made in his image, then our words are not just words, they have an impact on on reality. And so I don't think that it's crazy. I don't think that I'm like, let this appear and then it appears. But I do think that independently, we have the ability to interact with the world in a way that is very influential. And I think that is where manifestation comes from. I think that's why it works for a lot of people, because my words do have power. The way that I speak into the world, into the universe, has power. But I think that that power is such a watered down version compared to the power of God. And I think that we can only depend on ourselves for so long before we reach a dead end, because we are supposed to be connected to an all powerful God. And because of that, we should we shouldn't depend on ourselves as much as this world says that we should. And so that's kind of what was on my mind when it came to the type of things that we consume and the type of things that we think and say, because I think that it does have power to change our lives. And I think that the best thing that we can do is connect to God, and therefore our power will come from Him and not from ourselves. So, yeah, thanks if you stayed for this little segment of me just kind of talking about that. I don't know if it was good or not, but I felt really called to do it. And so hopefully it will improve as I continue to post. And again, thank you so much for watching, like, and subscribe. I'm so happy that I was able to sit down and talk to you guys again this week. And I will see you again next weekend.